How's it going? How are you?
Pretty dandy. Actually, not really. I feel like I had high hopes for this morning and then nothing.
Oh, what were your hopes?
My hopes were like Richard was gonna bring me coffee in bed, which like why?
All internal, like never expressed.
Yeah, and then we were like, let's go to brunch. And then we are like not leaving. I'm like, what are we even doing? And then we're like, wait, do we even have time? Like if I have to be back. So I'm like,
Oh,
ugh, let's just not. But it's like we
sad.
could have just gone, but then we like I don't know what we do. We waste our time.
Yeah.
So then I was annoyed. And we were just kind of annoyed at each other, but
Mm.
I think we're gonna turn it around. Richard's
Hopefully
gonna
this afternoon.
yeah, Richard's gonna leave. I don't know what he's gonna go do. After we do this,
Reset.
reset, yeah.
Well, you might be sad because or have FOMO because my morning was so good.
What did you do?
We went to brunch. We
Ugh,
went to this good spot called The Daily.
great.
And with Palmer, and it was really fun. We sat outside because it's enclosed. We were the only people out there. So she was just like running around having a great time. We had
Yay.
music on and heaters. We and then I met up with our other two sisters.
Great,
And
love that. My dream date.
lovely. Just rubbing it in. And we went on a walk and got coffee. So
Wow, that's awesome. No,
it
like,
was good.
that's actually great. And I will say,
It's actually great for you.
that's actually awesome, and I have
Happy for
no jealousy.
you.
I did get to sleep in, and I said what did I say? I think I said "good golly," which I've never said in my life. I said, "Good golly, this bed is comfortable." Like, our bed is so comfortable. The light comes in nicely, and we have this bright carpet, and so that was a win. Like, that's how I woke up. I don't understand when things took a turn, but
Yeah, you know when it's
when
anytime you have an expectation that you don't share,
mhm,
it never,
works.
like, works. Mhm.
Yeah,
And then you're resentful and they don't even know. And then
exactly.
you're mad that they don't know.
Yeah. I think we need to plan our Saturday morning Friday night.
Friday.
If
Mhm.
there's an intention for it. Say, like, "We should go to brunch. What time do we wanna leave, and
Yeah,
where do we wanna go?"
yeah.
Because if we don't do that, we end up it turns into lunch, which is not the same vibe as brunch, and then things just, go on from there, but I'm so glad you had such a wonderful morning.
Wait, how late did you sleep in?
Late, late, late.
At
So I woke up at 8:30, put Coda outside, got back in bed, woke up at 9:45. I know.
Wow. You left coat out there?
Yep.
Wow. Does he I guess he likes the cold.
Yes, he loves it.
Did you forget or did you mean to?
No, that's what I do. I'm like, "You gonna go outside? Alright, go
Alright.
outside." But he, like, sits on his little couch or, like, I don't know, outdoor chair couch thing,
Yeah.
and, he loves it. He's been, like, going we've kind of trained him to do that, so we'll, like, leave him outside for, you
He's
know
getting his morning sunlight. He's
Uh-huh.
setting his circadian rhythm.
He knows, yep.
That's good.
How's your sick child?
Oh, she's fine. She's just honestly, I don't think she was sick for all of January, and I was so surprised because I know from the hospital, like flu, RSV, rhinovirus, like there's
Mhm,
so many bugs going around. So I was like,
mhm.
we're gonna get it. Because I haven't been, she's still been going a lot of places. She goes to school, and then I've been taking her to like random fun outings.
Mhm.
So I was like, surely we didn't get sick. And
Right.
then she's had 2 colds back to back in February, but they're fine. It's just she's cranky.
As
So,
you were saying that, I was thinking it was still January.
no, thank
We made it.
goodness. We made
It's
it.
it's January, what, 5th,
No,
6th?
it's February 7th.
I mean, February 7th, Super Bowl weekend, sunny and bright, no more snowstorms.
So happy. Did you get really down in the dumps blues the last days of January? Because I did.
Well, I actually was gonna ask you about that because I remember you just dropped that at our family call, and you were like, "Yeah." Anyway, but I didn't I normally do. I sometimes February is more like that to me
Uh-huh.
because I don't
It's like
know.
a continuation.
Yeah, or I think I'm out of it and then I'm not, but, yeah, is that, like, a seasonal thing for you?
Yes.
January's? Yeah.
Yeah, like, true it's not like a true depression, but I'm very down. Like, I have
Mhm.
especially on top of being pregnant, just, like, no motivation. I don't really wanna do anything.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
wanna, like, cook. So, yeah, and that impacts me because 'cause I'm not living
Mm.
my normal, like, healthy
Mhm.
routine.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I feel like even just today, like, walking outside and it was sunny, even though it was
Mhm.
still cold, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
I'm
The
coming back
sun.
alive."
Well,
Yeah.
because it really was cloudy and, like, dark, whether it
And
was
windy.
snow or rain and windy. Yeah.
That was really bad.
Yeah.
And I keep telling everyone who is expressing the same thing to take vitamin D during the winter
Mhm. Mhm.
because I do think that helps. I've been doing that the past few years, and, like, I know Nina was saying she's had a really hard time this
Yeah.
January. And I'm like, "Well, at least, like, be up on your supplements.
Yeah.
At
Do
least you can go."
you Well, yeah, it doesn't help that you're pregnant. I feel like anytime I lose motivation for something I usually have, like cooking or working out, I start to spiral. I'm like, "Oh, no. Like,
Yeah, like, what's happening
will
to
it
me?
ever come back? What's going on?" And it takes the joy out of, like, eating and working out, obviously,
Yeah,
when you don't want to, you don't feel motivated.
yeah.
I I remember with your first pregnancy, you, like, couldn't cook, right? Like, especially chicken, like, you
Yeah.
just, like, could not. It would make you sick.
Yes, it's so funny. I see videos of this all the time on Instagram, and I'm like, "That's me." You open your fridge and you wanna throw up because 'cause you're like, "Everything
Ugh.
smells disgusting." It's like a
Yeah.
wave of food, and you're like,
Ugh.
and there's something about like, your own groceries that's really nasty, and then
Mhm.
especially cooking meat and especially eating leftovers, that's, like,
Yeah.
just not it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's gotten way better, like, I can cook now.
Alright, guys, today is a very special day. We have Vangi and Kayla with us. Vangi is a dear friend and a certified personal trainer. She is with her sister, Kayla, who are you 7 years older? Is that the
Yes.
distance? Yeah. 7 year
Significantly
older
older, We can cut
sister.
that out.
No, but I think that's important. You
No,
guys,
it
that's part of your
is.
journey. So Vangi is a certified personal trainer, and Kayla, what's your specific title?
I am a nutritional therapy practitioner.
NTP.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
They are co-owners and co-operators of VK Wellness. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about the vision for VK Wellness.
Yeah. So the vision for VK Wellness really first came about because Kayla and I just love talking about food and fitness together. We've learned a lot together. It's been a long journey and different journeys for both of us, but we were like, oh, I'm really into more of the fitness and have that's like training background there. Kayla has more of the food side of things. And we're like, oh, well, we could work together and that would be wonderful. And we want to bring other women into this. So the vision behind it is really to bring women together around food and fitness in a holistic way that's sustainable for longevity and creating it to be fun and joyful and something that they can really live out for the rest of their lives. So creating a community around that has been the kind of basic vision behind it. Kayla, you can add to that for sure.
Yeah, it's been so fun to kind of see how the Lord has like realigned our lives to come back together. As you said, we're 7 years apart. So it's been kind of a wild journey. And honestly, most of the time I'm like, how did we get here? It feels really surprising and just a sweet gift. But yeah, we kind of took our own separate journeys to get to VK Wellness. And mine included really a big health journey, which I feel like most people who end up in the health and wellness space, like that's a lot of people's story. But it really came from several autoimmune diagnoses that just my body started just to fight itself. And I realized I was completely not knowledgeable in any of this and started to deep dive on my own kind of how like what can my body do? Like can it be healed or is this just my life now? Because especially with autoimmunity, there's a lot of talk of like, well, this is just your new reality and it's forever. And here's some medication that you'll just be on forever. And just that's great. But then I started to really do some more digging and just found food as a place of healing and just learned that food is really how you're communicating with your body and the way your body's communicating with you. Like it's literally what is making up your cells. And so what you eat really matters. And so I started just to kind of follow that path and eventually led to pursuing the NTP and gaining more knowledge there. Anyway, we can talk more about that. And then COVID happened, and Vange and I ended up on the same college campus 7 years apart, which is just a wild part of our story. My husband and I were working there, and she was a student. And so that's kind of what brought us back into each other's spheres to be able to create this. And it started really just COVID shutting everything down, and who doesn't take up running or sourdough? I feel like it was like running or sourdough were like
Yeah.
your options.
And we did
And we
both.
kind of did both. so we started running together. I think that's when we started just to have more of these conversations and realized that we both cared. We were coming from different spaces, but both cared really deeply about helping women in this space and realizing the more conversations we were having, we were like, there is just vast confusion. Social media is great, but it can become this place of overwhelm of like, well, which fad do I even follow? And why is there a new one every day? So, yeah, and then that just started to converge into like, we want to share this with other people because we love it so much and we're learning so much. And I found eventually a lot of healing through food and movement. And Van was like, I love all of this too. And I love movement. So, like, can we combine? And then here we are.
Love that. Well, I would love for you if you're willing to go into detail on your journey, like how your health
Yeah.
journey has changed. I don't know if you want to share like what actual diagnoses you had and then
Yeah.
food, how your intake changed and how you saw that impacting you.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm totally an open book, probably too open maybe of a book sometimes, but I just think people need to talk more about these things. But yeah, so basically I was a healthy person. Like our family is healthy. Like no one really has any health problems or health history. It was kind of funny when I started going to the doctor. They were like, "Well, what's your like health history?" And I'd be like, "There's nothing to write down. Like I don't know. Like everyone's fine." And I all of a sudden, truly, like out of the blue, like one day was fine and then one day was not. There was progression happening, but as someone who like never really went to the doctor except for regular checkups, like I wasn't tracking anything. And then all of a sudden, I had a lot of pain in my lungs and I didn't know it was happening. And long story short, I ended up having blood clots in my lungs,
Wow.
which was really crazy. So I was hospitalized for a while, just a couple weeks actually. It could have been a lot worse, but
Wow.
um, and then through a lot of different things, they ended up at least giving me the diagnosis. This is where it's all diagnoses are tricky as you start to explore them. But I was given finally months later a diagnosis of antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, or APS, which is a blood clotting disorder. It's pretty rare, really kind of random. Basically, my body just attacks the thing that breaks down clots. And so if a clot forms, my body was like, we should not fight that clot. It should just exist in your body. So it was getting a cue wrong, which is what all autoimmunity is your body creating something to attack itself, but it thinks it's a foreign thing. So that was my first autoimmune issue that happened. And then unfortunately another like year or two later, I'm now fuzzy on all the details, which is I guess good. I don't know. Um I had my son, and 6 months after he was born, they started to notice some things, and I was diagnosed with lupus, which is a much more common one, but I was diagnosed with lupus nephritis. Me and Selena Gomez, actually. So that's my
Wow.
claim to fame. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
pretty cool. Um, so I was diagnosed with lupus, and at that point, people love to once you have two autoimmune diseases, they love to tell you that they come in threes. And so that was like really encouraging to just like start hearing everywhere. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to like my body seems to just create autoimmune diseases. Like there's something clearly wrong. And so I started to research some of that, and I was like, I don't want a third one. Like that doesn't seem good. So I probably like if this is the trajectory, medication doesn't seem like it's going to stop whatever's happening underneath. Like it was healing some of the symptoms, but it wasn't getting to the root cause.
What medicines were you on, if you remember?
Yes, oh my goodness, so many. So when I was just having so it was like stages. When I just had the blood clotting disorder, that's all they knew. They put me on warfarin, which was one that like all 85-year-old men are on, I feel like. And they were like, "You'll be fine." They were like,
It's
There's
intense,
no side effects." Yeah.
and did you have to do, like, your lab screening and stuff? What do you have to
Yes, it
go
was,
for
like,
that?
so constant, I had to go to the doctor all the time, there was just it was just so much, honestly, and I was so young at the time, I mean, this was all before I was 25, or around when I was 25, um, and they were like just the answers that they have are like, "You will be on blood thinning medication for the rest of your life," and they're like, "There's no known side effects," and that started to bug me because I was like, maybe, but also most of your testing is done on significantly older population. What about me as a 25-year-old if I'm supposed to like that longevity is a really different prognosis. So I was on that. And then with lupus, because it was lupus nephritis, it started in my kidneys and really was localized there. It was contained, which was nice, but kind of more like dire. Like I had to like do something immediately about it. So they did put me on an immunosuppressant drug called mycophenolate or Cellcept, which is pretty common. And then also on hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil, which is one that if anyone remembers, but during COVID was like the one that Trump for a minute was like, this will heal everyone.
Yeah.
And so there was like none left in the world.
Yeah.
But so I was on that for a while. So then eventually I had a persistent friend who she had had a lot of like unknown health issues and had found a lot of help and healing through food. And so she just like kept like gently, very kindly nudging me and was like, have you thought about food? And honestly, my first reaction, not really out loud because that felt offensive, but in my head, in all honesty, was like, that is so rude that you think that you
Mhm.
understand enough about my situation to tell me that food could heal my blood. Like, I was like, you're actually crazy.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, I just didn't know anything. Like, it actually is all completely connected. And I just was ignorant of that, truly, which gives me a lot of compassion for people coming from all these different places of like, we're just not taught all these things.
Yeah.
We're taught to like, well, you have a problem, you go to the doctor and here's medication. And there's nothing wrong with that. It saved my life multiple times. So I'm not opposed, but there's something to this like underlying root cause approach that can help us like stop getting to this place potentially. Like I could have maybe avoided all of this. So anyway, she helped me kind of learn about honestly whole foods and like why like I was eating a standard American diet. I didn't even really know what that was and just started to transition off of that. My entry was through Whole 30. Technically, that was like at the time the thing that people were doing that seemed to work. I started to do a lot of research on that, and that was really helpful. It actually was a good entry point for me. I wouldn't say that now we can talk about that, but it's not really where I've landed. But it did, I think, calm down the autoimmunity, the inflammation that was happening in my body when I removed a ton of things that were just too much. My body just kind of said, you can only do what you're doing for so long and you got to stop. And so kind of started to take that path. And over the next like 5 years of doing that and like a loose paleo approach, I was able to wean myself off medication, which was really amazing and a gift that I didn't really know was possible. And there were some tricky decisions to be made in there. Thankfully, my husband was really supportive and we felt really on the same page every time of like, should we try to not be on this? Like, but you can always like retest. And I was in a place, not everyone is, but I was in a position where I felt like I could say, let me try to get off this medication and see if I felt like my body had reset. Like I looked completely different. And it's not about that, but it was like, I don't feel like the same human at all. So there's like a clear, like inflammation was just different, even when you just looked at me. And so I was like, something is different. I would like to test it. And I was like, and worst case to me seemed like I would just get back on the medication and I'd rather like see if I could and ended up doing really well with that. So yeah.
That's amazing. So, did your doctor or whoever was taking care of you know when you got off the medication?
Yeah,
Or
so
was that
that's
your
interesting. That's a challenging part of navigating all this. No, not really. I finally just came to the conclusion that especially with actually, I think with my lupus medication, I did talk with her and I was like, I would like to try to not. And that one was fine. But then the one that no one ever wants you to get off of is the blood thinning medication. Because when you have an incident of blood clots in your lungs, it's really scary. And that's the interesting one that like really has held on in my medical records. Like no one can see past it. And I get that. It was very scary. I don't recommend it to anyone. It's the worst feeling ever. But I just got to the point where I was like, I'm not even convinced that I necessarily have this specific thing. I think I did have blood clots in my lungs, and I think there's a lot we could go into. I was also on oral birth control at the time. I think that contributed. Like, I think there were a lot of contributing factors that no one was really willing to look into. And so I just felt like for myself, I had to take that plunge. And I talked with a functional medicine doctor at that time, and he recommended a supplement that he had worked in the medical system for a long time, and had actually worked with mostly older patients on Coumadin medication. And he was like, I would recommend, it's called nattokinase. It comes from fermented soybeans. It's crazy. And it's like a natural blood thinner. And he was like, I would recommend this over blood thinners to like any of my patients. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I should at least think about it. So that gave me enough of like I could transition with that. So I took that for a little while as I weaned myself off of the other, just to make myself like sleep at night probably. And then honestly stopped doing that. And I ended up being fine. And I haven't had to get back on any of those blood thinners at all.
That is amazing. Did you recheck your antibody levels?
Yes, so that has been a journey. I feel like the lupus has been trickier, and I think will because I do think that's like more of a legit diagnosis that I have. It has stayed stable for a long time. You can't tell in this view, but I'm 8 months pregnant. And
Oh,
so,
congrats.
thank you.
That's amazing.
Um, thank you. And I will say this is the first pregnancy that I tried to do without any medication. And I lasted about 6 or 7 months, and then did start to have some underlying lupus activity. And that was where the antibodies started to be like, what's going on? So I'm in a little bit of a like maybe a flare right now, but it's not super severe. But to protect the baby, I have been and myself in this process just to get me like over the hump. I'm back on the Plaquenil on a really low dose just to try to like get me through. And then hopefully my hope is that pregnancy is just wild and it's extra hard on your body. And I'm hoping to go back to a normal spot and kind of regain some focus with that and like with nutrition and all of that post pregnancy to be able to kind of re-normalize. And I have a lot of hope that that can happen, but I don't know yet. And that's, I think, the reality of autoimmunity. I think there's a lot of healing to be had, but I also think it's always going to be a journey, and it's probably not going to be a straight shot.
Yeah.
You're so
That's
impressive. I've said it before, but anytime anyone's pregnant, I'm like, and you're talking, and you're taking care of kids, and you're doing a podcast, and
Oh, you're so kind.
getting up in the morning. Really, I would not. Yeah, from this angle, you have no idea that you're 8 months pregnant. So
Wow, thank you.
yeah.
Maybe that's better that way, you know?
I think part of your story is I don't think medical doctors, like traditional medicine, it's not that they are always like against these functional practices or
Right.
they just simply don't have the time. Like they hopefully care for you, but they don't care about you as much as you care about you or as much as your husband cares about you or your kids. So it's like you do have to do the work, which is not easy. Like it's really hard to research these things, figure out what do you need, and it's surely like scary thinking about going against what's just the typical procedure or like plan of care that they've given you. But it sounds like you've done a really good job of that. And it's put you in a better place.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey and not clear all the time. It's taken a lot of conversations and a lot of prayer, honestly, to figure out what makes sense. And yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, has your faith been a big part of that as far as like having the intuition or answered prayer or something of like, do I try getting off of this medicine? Because those diagnoses they're legit. Like, and I
Right.
know it's been scary, especially being hospitalized for blood clots in the lungs. That is like a big
Yeah.
deal. So, and you have a lot of, I'm sure, medical providers being like, never do this and never get off these meds and like you're gonna
Yeah.
die. And so I'm sure your faith has been a big
Yeah.
part of that.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, it's just a journey I never expected at all. No one does. But yeah, I think along the way, it's truly just been one step at a time of like, I went from not knowing, I mean, I just never knew anything about the medical world to learning that I think the biggest growth is learning to like advocate for myself and that that's part of the picture. And there was a lot of like just prayerful time of like, Lord, I don't know what to do here, but what I'm being told doesn't feel complete. And again, not unkind or like meant to harm at all. Like that's not how I feel about the medical system at all. It just felt like it could do some of the work for me. And it could probably keep me alive for a while is how it
Mhm.
felt. And that was necessary. I needed that. And so I don't want to come across at all. Everyone's journey is going to be different. I'm definitely not an advocate of like, just get off all your medication and like, you'll be fine. Like, that's not going to be everyone's story and nor should it be. And medicine can really help. But I think prayerfully and truly with my husband in that too, I think it would be very different if he was very fearful about all of it. But I think the biggest thing has been like fighting fear, and the Lord has been kind in that of like, okay, what do we want for this? Like, do we want to live? We could just like go with the flow and just like, it'll probably, if I take this medication forever, go fine for a long time. But then together being like, it seems like maybe there's another option and asking the Lord if we should pursue that. And there've been a lot of scary steps along the way. I mean, at the very beginning with the blood clotting, as soon as my lungs filled with clots, then they gave me this diagnosis. Very flippantly, this is part of the like maybe not the best bedside manner that I've experienced, but they were like, "You'll never have kids. That's just like how it'll be. People with this diagnosis just don't. They usually find this diagnosis when you are pregnant and then you miscarry." Is what they told me. So
Wow.
I was fortunate to find it before I tried to get pregnant. That was part of the Lord's provision and timing as well. But there's a lot of scariness in that. Like, should we even try to get pregnant? But we were like, I think so. Like, I think we should try, but that's scary. So there were steps along the way like that. And then once they gave us another diagnosis, we were like, oh, probably should never do that again. And here we are, two more kids deep. So the Lord is really gracious and, yeah, has just been with us. Don't think we've done anything really remarkable, but just trying to take next steps and ask questions. I think asking questions is just so important.
Super cool. I respect it. Okay, so you have a lot like your this background and your story is certainly kind
Yeah,
of led you to this point. A lot of training just kind of on your own. But I'd like to
yeah.
hear from both of you a little bit more about the training that you do have as a Vangi certified personal trainer and Kayla, a nutritional therapy practitioner. Very impressive. So if you guys could tell us a little bit more about what that looks like.
So it's been a journey in terms of kind of certifications, how it all started with the fitness journey of, okay, like Kayla was saying, we ran in COVID. That was a good time. I didn't love running. We like trained for a half marathon. It's like we ran enough that I should have loved it, but was never like my favorite thing. But mm, I that was what I thought was out there to do of like, okay, I know I can run, and that's good for my body. But then a friend started a Pilates studio and then came on with her as an instructor. So I learned all about Pilates and what that looks like, and just that there are other ways to move your body that I love, that I can really enjoy while I'm doing it and not just the aftermath of like, okay, I know I've moved my body. And that kind of started me on the whole journey of like, okay, what is resistance training? Because Pilates does include that. And how does that make my body feel? How am I reacting to that? I did find that like my skin was better if I was doing more Pilates versus straight cardio all the time. And
Mm.
my sleep was better. Like all of these different things that I was starting to notice. And then Kayla and I were talking a lot. And Kayla is a big like researcher. I learn most of what I know, I feel like through Kayla, like Spark Notes of Kayla, which is so helpful. And so really grateful for that. So anyways, we've like looked at a lot of things, especially Dr. Stacy Sims. She's been really influential in a lot of what we've learned specifically around fitness for women and the importance of strength training. So started looking into that more, started doing that and just like free weight lifting in the gym in addition to Pilates, and started to really appreciate the benefits of that for now and for the future. And so then I was like, okay, what does it look like to actually have more formal training in this? I want to know more. I feel like we wanted to start VK Wellness. We wanted to be more officially trained than just our research. So started pursuing becoming a certified personal trainer specifically through NASM, which is the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And so I went through that whole process, went through all of their courses to then finally take the test and became a certified personal trainer in the beginning of January.
Cool. Okay, Kayla, what about you?
So I graduated from the Nutritional Therapy Association. It's a year-long program. I did a lot of research beforehand because I just feel like I'm learning more and more as you start to kind of go rogue. Um, as I did like with my doctors and all that, there's a lot out there. And so there's a lot to sift through, and some's really good and some is like, what are you talking about? And it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And so I was really nervous to like pick a program, but did a ton of research and started to like just find different places that were hiring nutritional therapy practitioners. And I was like, well, you sound like you know what you're talking about and you're having a lot of success and people are getting healed. And so I started to just that was kind of how I did my research, because I was like, I don't know how to figure this out. If you're not, I decided I didn't want to go the traditional dietetics route. Right now, I just felt like that was going to be tough with my story, and what was going to be taught there was going to be fine. But then I was like, I'm going to have to do that and then the next. And it just was like, I just didn't find myself drawn to that, to be honest. So I stumbled upon the Nutritional Therapy Association. Their mission is to reverse the epidemic of preventable poor health by educating and empowering. But I loved that idea of reversing preventable poor health. I was like, that makes so much sense to me. That's how I feel in my journey. Like, some of it you can't prevent. Genes are a factor. Like, our toxins in the air are a factor. Not all of that can be prevented, but I think that our food can help a lot. We're not helping ourselves in the way that we're living.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really powerful to me. So, and they take a foundational approach to nutrition as a way to heal. So we talk about digestion and blood sugar regulation, a nutrient dense diet, eating whole foods. So it's a very like back to basics of like, why is this working in your body or not working in your body, and how all of those fit together. So it's a really root cause holistic approach that just was like, it made so much sense of all of the things that I had been looking into.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little more specifically. Let's start with strength training for women.
Yeah.
Vangi, just tell us kind of two-part. One, what did you notice in yourself when you transitioned more from focusing on cardio to more resistance and strength training? And then why is strength training important for women?
Yeah, definitely. No, this is what I love to talk about, so I'm really excited. Yeah, I think kind of like I was mentioning before, when I went from running all of the time, just kind of trying to keep up, the cardio all of the time, I felt tired a lot, not fully in my body. Just kind of like, yeah, I know that I'm running, I know that I am moving my body and that's good, but feeling kind of off. And then switching over to like Pilates and then strength training specifically, I'm seeing a lot more change in my energy levels of like, okay, I'm feeling a lot more steady throughout the day because I'll typically work out in the morning. And it feels like such a good start to the day. I feel like I'm getting stronger, actually feeling that in my body from day to day. So I think when I was running and just doing cardio, it was like I'm very lean, and that's great. Like aesthetically, that's great for our culture, but I didn't feel strong in my body. So when I started strength training, there was much more of this level of like, okay, I do look a little different, and maybe it's not the like perfectly culturally aesthetic body that all college women might want, but I feel very equipped for my day-to-day activities. And yeah, I do have that energy throughout the day. I feel like my like hunger levels were almost like kind of back to a normal level of like I didn't have all of these spikes in between meals and things like that. Part of that was also the combination of doing strength training and then learning the importance of fueling my body for those workouts specifically. So with protein and all of those things. Sleep, I feel like I've always been a good sleeper, so it's not been ever something that I'm like struggle with going to sleep. But I will say just like deeper sleep. So that was kind of how I saw the differences there. Which was really new for me because I have always played sports. So I've always been like just kind of on the move, always doing cardio, big like cardio junkie vibes. And so kind of always a little bit like running on empty, but not realizing it. And then to be like, oh, I've actually built muscle that my body can use for its day to day activities. So that's more the feelings of it. And then in terms of strength training for women, all of the benefits, I could go through so many. Before I get into the benefits, I will say I was just talking to a friend this morning about strength training, and I was talking to her and her husband, and he lifts heavy and she will not because she doesn't want to look like him. And it was just an interesting conversation, and it's something that I've thought a lot about, and I like it is still something that I like have to fight in my own brain. But just as a note about strength training is like you don't have to worry about bulking as a female who wants to lift heavy. It's really hard to bulk. You have to be really, really intentional with like how you're eating, how you're working out, and it's so important for women to lift heavy. So, anyways, that's just like a side note. You don't have to worry about that because strength training is so wonderful for women. So, the first reason that I'd say is just the kind of obvious, but it does preserve and build lean muscle mass, specifically for your type 2 muscles. So, your fast twitch muscles, women have less than men. These are responsible for like your high force, high intensity, and like short duration activities. And so strength training really creates and builds these muscles better than a lot of other types of workouts. So even like with Pilates, women are really good at reformer Pilates because it is more of that like endurance. If you look more to the future, strength training is really, really important for your long term health, specifically for your bone density. And so, strength training does improve bone density, which, as you get older, osteoporosis is a real thing. And you can lose bone density over time. It happens really rapidly. And so, this is a great preventative to that as you're building bone density while it's also trying to like decay as you get older. So, it's really important to do that. Another one is just metabolic and hormone health. So this is where cardio and strength are really interesting, and that conversation is super fascinating. I think a lot of women do cardio because that it is really fun. It feels fun to do a really hard workout and feel exhausted after and be like, oh man, I like just killed myself. It was crazy. And it is really fun. Like I get it. Yeah, I love it. But that is actually putting our bodies into a constant state of stress. So it's raising our cortisol levels for too long when you're doing it for a long period of time. So that is messing with all of your hormone levels and kind of kicking in your fight or flight reaction. And if you're in that for a long time, that's not going to be great for your body. So strength training is really great because it is building muscle, which is improving your metabolic rate and your insulin sensitivity while also not raising your cortisol for like long periods of time. And so it really helps with all of that. But also joint strength, it really is building around your joints and working through that. It reduces risks for like chronic diseases, heart disease, and like metabolic dysfunction. And so when you're consistently strength training, it really is a good kind of disease prevention tool, which is just crazy. And like it feels unrelated sometimes of like how is it possible that me just like moving heavy things can do this, but it is truly a life-changing, long-term health-changing thing. And then the last thing is really basic, but it's just the idea of injury prevention. So the stronger your muscles are, the more prepared you are for daily movement. And so I was talking with Kayla on Thursday. I got to come talk with her class at Covenant. And it's funny talking about these things with like 18-year-olds where it's like they have no concept of like, oh, I could bend over one day and like my back could give out or something like that. Like that's not
Yeah.
something they're worried about right now. But the older that we get, and even just like even just now of like my body is different than it was when I was in college. And so strength training really does help injury prevention. You have stronger muscles, tendons, and joints. And so basic movements of like twisting or picking something up, or like if you have kids, picking your kids up, you want to be able to like get up and off, like off the ground, up and down. Strength training is really helpful for that, specifically when you're focused on functional movements. So something that we focus on a lot is the main functions of squat, push, pull, hinge, and carry, because those are across all of your life. And that's the main movements that you'll see throughout your day. And so training for real life with all of that. But I will say also, just a more practical, not like necessarily scientific thing, but strength training too, I think, like I said, you can do high cardio, and it's important to have cardio. I will say that. I don't want to just like bash on cardio. It's so important. But the like kind of long form endurance cardio can leave you feeling exhausted after your workout. So if you're doing that like in the morning before you're going to work, it's like, and now I'm exhausted for my day. Whereas strength training, you are building so much strength in that time. So I can work out and it's like really good for my body. And then I also don't feel so like exhausted after that. I'm like, I actually feel energized for my day rather than depleted after my workout, which is helpful.
So true.
Sometimes people, and it kind of goes to Vanjie's like point a while ago of women being like scared of strength training or being told like you don't need to be strong. I mean, I hear that all the time. I hear that in my class a lot. Like that's just not what women were built for. And I think there's just, have we looked at what women are required to do in our lives? And like we should be preparing for that. Like you might have babies and that's really hard. There's a lot that's involved in that. And then you have to carry those babies. And if you look over history, like we're in a more convenience-based culture where that's not necessarily something you have to think about as much, but you look at women like across cultures and they're the ones that are gathering all the food and like carrying buckets of water, and like women have had to be strong forever, but for some reason in our culture we've just gotten to this place of like women's goal is to be skinny and be like smaller. And I just, part of our hope is like to kind of just reverse that a little bit and be like, that's just how can we actually change our brains? It's very hard. Vange and I talk about it all the time. Like we're swimming upstream just in talking about like it might be okay that your body isn't the slimmest version it could be. Like, where did we even get that concept? I think is something that we are like constantly talking about and being like, okay, but if I know that my body can do the things I want it to do and it feels good and I'm not sick, like those should be more things that we're thinking about. And it's just so hard to push back against that. So I just want us to be like, women can be strong and that shouldn't be shocking or countercultural. Somehow it is, even in today's culture. And that's something we're like pretty passionate about.
Yeah.
Just love that viewpoint because I think it is so important. It is countercultural, but it's important as women and women in the health space to push back against that and say, no, we were made for more. We're made to be strong and capable and able and healthy. And healthy does not look like this one slim, kind of like dainty, frail version of yourself that maybe I think our culture society is changing too on like what is
Yeah.
the beauty standard in a good way. But I think like probably the years that we all grew up and went through high school, that was the goal, which was really sad. I think it was really detrimental, but I think we're coming around. And so we need people like you guys who are really
Yeah.
pushing, like, there's more, we're made for more. And the goal is to feel good. Also, you'll look really good. Like when you strength train and you eat
Yeah.
whole foods, you feel good, but you also
Yeah.
look amazing. Like you look vibrant, you look strong, So I think even like my husband would say, like, you look better when you're not like running all the time. Like, I like when you, like, have a little bit of, like, muscle on you or curve, so I
Yeah.
always appreciate that. Yeah.
I think for me, sometimes working out just to look good is not very motivating, or it just can feel very monotonous. And like we go to these very sterile gyms or like places, and I'm just, like you said, just lifting heavy things just to maintain for the rest of my life, like that does not sound enjoyable. So I think it's helpful to know the true benefits for everyone, but specifically for women. That's much more motivating for me to continue to take care of my body than just to look a certain way or be fitting in with like this culture of fitness.
I like that. Okay, Kayla, tell us, what are the core nutrition principles that every woman around our life stage should know?
Yes, I thought of a few. And they're honestly, and I hope you get this from us overall, like they're not complicated. We're not here for trends. We're not here for fads. It's not like don't eat at this time and only eat these things. Like, no, honestly, they're so basic. The first thing, like, and the biggest thing, if you are going back to a whole foods-ish diet, like things that are unprocessed, things that look like maybe what they originally looked like it looks like fruit or a veggie, it looks like a meat that you've seen before, it could have come from a chicken. That's honestly like getting you 90% of the way there on your health goals. Like truly, we just don't understand, I think, in the water that we swim in the US, how abnormal just that is. And how much, I guess a little bit of work has to be done because that's not what's like presented to us all the time. So there is work involved in that of like learning what's in your food. Like, do you even know what's in the box of Cheez-Its that you love? So starting to educate yourself on like really basic things that sound so silly, but then we start to realize what that buildup does in our body. And our bodies are smart and resilient, and we have a detox system. So if anyone's trying to sell you on a detox, like maybe slow down. Like your body does that. We have ways of detoxing. But if we're overfilling them with crap all the time, they're going to get like bogged down. So I think honestly, first things first, what's in your fridge? What's in your pantry? Does it look like, I mean, the classic at this point, does it look like something your grandma or your great grandma would recognize? Or would she be like, what is a Go-Gurt or what, like what are these things? Like they don't even make sense. Like I don't understand. So start really knowing what's in your food and getting back to just those like whole, good, nutrient dense. You're also thinking about diversity and that, like how colorful is your food? We're not talking Fruit Loops, but like how colorful and like all the veggies and stuff that you're getting, that's going to help your gut. So if you're just starting there, like that's honestly like our most foundational, biggest thing I think that we can change. And like if you do that and only that, you'll honestly probably do pretty well. And then if you want to like get a little bit further, you do want to think about digestion. We could be eating good things, but if we're not absorbing those nutrients well, they're not getting to our cells effectively and they're not changing and doing all the things and giving us the energy that we need. So if your stomach still hurts all the time, we got to think about like, okay, do we have a stomach acid issue? Do we need to work on that? Your gut lining, like have you been eating a certain way for too long that your gut lining is like a little leaky and those tight junctions are kind of separating and we're already having problems? Like there's things you're going to have to think about there. So I do think about like, how is your stomach feeling? Some people are like, oh, I'm great. I eat great. And I like poop 10 times a day, or I don't poop for 3 days. Like those things are like things we should be thinking about that we can really normalize really quickly of like, my stomach hurts all the time. I hear that so much from women. They're like, I feel great. I guess my stomach hurts like most of the time. And I'm like, so that's not feeling great, but we don't even know. So thinking about really how that digestion is working, I think is going to be another key aspect. And then a huge one, the more I like dive into it, this topic has become like just so kind of exciting to me, honestly, is blood sugar regulation. It is just so foundational. And we really have it in this category of like, am I diabetic or pre-diabetic? If not, I'm fine. I think our culture, I mean, when you go to the doctor, that's what they're checking. They'll literally be like, you look fine, or you're pre-diabetic, we'll talk in a little while. And it's like, whoa, that shouldn't be the like path we go down. Like, how did we get here? How can we not get there? Why are so many Americans getting to that point so quickly? Why is this something we anticipate happening to us when we're like 50 or 60? Like that shouldn't be something we anticipate. And I think it's so key, especially for women our age. It comes into play so much with our hormone health. It's so tied to that. So thinking about, I've talked with several people with like PCOS symptoms and things like that. And like people don't do it, but a quick Google search will like lead you to like blood sugar stuff. But instead we're like, take birth control, block things. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. But if we start with our blood sugar regulation and getting our body out of this like constant up and down, which is causing stress, which is spiking our cortisol, which is keeping us in fight or flight, which is then every time you're in fight or flight, your body is really smart. And it's like, it's not safe for me to make a baby. And so it's going to down regulate a lot of things. It's going to down regulate your digestion. So it's kind of, those are going to go together too. It's going to say, we don't really even need to digest our food right now. Like, we need to keep our brain alive or whatever. And then definitely it's going to down regulate your hormone health, because it's like, we shouldn't be making babies. And then you start to like have all these different symptoms. And when you have high insulin levels, because you're intaking so much sugar that your body can't manage, or you're eating at irregular times, or there's lots of different ways of helping your blood sugar. But if you're doing all those things that are not helpful, it's just going to start this domino effect in your hormones of like, I don't think that we should be a place that feels safe enough to make a baby and keep our hormones healthy. And your body actually, when that insulin is high, is creating more androgens, which is usually, people think about them as like the male sex hormones. We have to have some of them, but those start to get elevated to this point where they start to cause these, like, they can cause these PCOS symptoms and irregular periods and things like that. And it's really your body trying to honestly be smart and help you, but we need to help our body not feel stressed all the time. So I just think blood sugar doesn't like get enough limelight, and it really is such a basis for things. And then finally, I would just say, like, women need to eat enough. I think, like, Vange and I have talked about that a lot. I think that's almost just like a cultural war that we're fighting at this point, but it's doing it's contributing to all the same things I just talked about. We need to fuel for the life that we have. And people who are eating, it's different for everyone, but we're like, oh, let's eat 1,700 calories a day. Like, where did that number come from? And like, your body burns a ton just by living. And then you're trying to put it through this intense cardio, and then you're trying to lift. And I don't know, to reach your goals, honestly, and like to do well in life, you got to fuel. If we want happy hormones and we want bodies that feel strong, like, you're telling your cells whether or not to build muscle when you eat enough food or don't. And I think women we just have a hard time because we've been told just a lot of different things about what we should look like and how much food is enough and what kind of appetite is enough and what's too big of an appetite and that's too manly, or, there's all these things that we're fighting against. And I just want to encourage women, like, your body's doing a lot, you're doing a lot. We need to eat enough to be able to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. And you'll honestly see so many benefits. You'll like stop maybe being tired because you'll actually, like, your cells have what they need to survive, and they might have been starving. And you'll see, like, Vange can talk about this too, but that you'll see muscle growth. Like, you're really working against yourself if you do a fasted workout. You're competing, you're putting yourself in an anabolic and a catabolic state at the same time. It's like trying to break down and build up at the same time, and it's not gonna work. So you want to give it all the things to be like, it's time to build. It's time to build. Like, you want those to go together, not fight each other. So there's so many, but those were like my big hitters that I was like, we gotta go. This is what we need.
I love it. Focus on whole foods. Does it look like something you could have picked out of a garden or from a tree or killed with an arrow or whatever? That's the stuff we should be
Love it.
eating. Eat enough. I love that. Do you have any comments on intermittent fasting for females, and also any comments on like
Mm.
protein goals, what we should be looking at there?
Oh, probably too many comments. So let me think here. Yes, intermittent fasting. I don't think it's great for women, to be honest, is where I land on it. I think that our bodies are looking for fuel for the things that we're doing. It's going to start being confusing for your blood sugar because you can find yourself crashing if you start skipping these meals. Though before I say all that, I've already said it, but it really depends on what you mean by that. I think it is actually pretty good for us to eat all throughout the day and then maybe stop at dinner or a little after, at least a few hours before bed. And then that's a natural fasting window until you wake up in the morning. But then I think the issue is when we start extending that fasting window into your day and you're asking your body to start functioning and to start thinking and to start doing all these things, but you're not going to fuel it for like 4 hours. Your body's going to start to be like, well, no fuel is coming in. So I got to create fuel. So I have to break down things in my body. That's just the system. Like, it will find fuel if you don't give it fuel, which is great. We need that. But again, when it starts to do that, it does put your body in this place of, well, I'm not getting enough. So I'll break down things. And that's what's tricky in our culture. It might even make you look skinnier. But what is it breaking down? It's going to break down actually your lean muscle mass first. And if you're trying to build muscle, that's unfortunate. And again, with your hormones, like your body's going to say, it's not safe. Like, why would I have a period right now? Why would I ovulate? That's not a good idea. And it's going to start to be like, yeah, there's not enough fuel to do these things because that's not important right now. What's important is staying alive. So if you start doing that over and over again, your body's getting the message that it only gets a certain amount of food at a certain time. And it's just your body's going to try to figure out how to deal with that. And then you said protein, right? Was that the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big proponents of protein. We are on the protein train, I'll say it. And I know it is one of those that's like all the rage right now, but I think it hasn't been the rage for long enough that it needed some limelight, you know. We're in a funny, interesting cultural moment right now where even like our food pyramid is like literally been turned upside down, which so many fun thoughts on all of that. But I do think our protein intake needs to be higher. I think it's been wildly low. I think we're finally catching up to like protein is what builds everything in your body, not just like, do you want to be super muscular? You should have protein. I think for a while it was like in that category. Again, people are wild and it's like you start seeing people eating like 50 to 60 grams of protein at every meal. And I'm like, well, like that's like kind of a lot. Maybe we don't need to like only eat protein because we love extremes. We just absolutely love them. So I think starting with protein is so important. It's also like in the morning, it's huge for your blood sugar regulation. It's going to slow down the use of glucose in your body so that it can actually use it and not use a ton of insulin and require all this insulin. So I think it should always go together. Like we should have protein, fat and carbs and fiber together all the time because they were meant to work together. And when we separate them out and we're like, oh, I just had protein, it's like, well, that's good. But also your body needs some quick energy. So have some carbs. So I'm more of a like, use your judgment, but don't cut out protein and definitely probably up it just because women tend to underplay it. So we aim, I don't know, more like, I feel like I would love to do a little bit more, but I'm probably hitting about 120 grams of protein a day. I try to aim for like 30 plus a meal at least. I feel like is just like start there. I think like see how that feels. You could definitely do more. You're not risking anything by doing more. But I think it's one of those that like if you, at least for me, I don't count macros at all. It like annoys me. But for protein, it has been helpful sometimes to be like, but like actually how much do I have? And it's been shockingly low to me. And in our culture, I mean, just the food pyramid itself tells you like how it's been forever. You were supposed to eat a ton of grains. There isn't room for protein. So we do kind of have to reverse, I think, some of that. More than like an extreme, we need to be like, well, maybe we just like haven't been leaving enough space in our diet for the protein that we need.
And I just would add on to that too, like exactly all of that with the protein and like probably 30 plus a meal, but then also fueling well for your workouts. I think there's like a big or has been in the past of like, oh yeah, I don't eat anything before I work out. I work out fasted, and that is putting your body into that state of stress and it doesn't have anything to break down except for like what Kayla was saying of like breaking down your lean muscle mass, and that's really not what you want. So and that's something that Dr. Stacy Sims talks about too, but just the idea of eating even 15 grams of protein within like an hour before your workout is going to be huge. And then fueling within like an hour after your workout in that anabolic window is really important too. Getting like those 30 grams of protein post workout so that your body is taking up the right nutrients because it is primed to be taking up those nutrients at that point. And so making sure that you're giving that to your body. So just adding that on specifically for like training and making sure you're fueling for training the right way.
Awesome. Thank you. What is one thing that both of you wish every girlfriend of yours knew about their bodies and their health?
I think the main thing that I would want women to remember is that you don't have to go to either of the extremes that we're given. And those two extremes that I'm talking about are the extreme of you have to restrict your bodies, you have to restrict everything, restrict your eating, It's really hard. You have to make sure that you are like as lean as possible. That is the definition of health. You need to do that. That's one extreme. The other extreme is the extreme love your body no matter what. Body positivity, I think body positivity is great depending on your definition of it. I think, yeah, the idea of no matter what my body looks like, that's just the way it's supposed to be, so I'm going to accept it for what it is. You don't have to go to either extreme. There is really truly a third option, and that is that you want to care about your health. That's good. Maybe your body is trying to tell you things, and so you should pay attention to how you feel, how you look in some ways. Like your body is like such a great indicator, like externally, of what's happening internally. So paying attention to that is so essential, but then also not obsessing over I don't look exactly like this person I saw on Instagram, and so I must be unhealthy. And so realizing that you need to be able to read your body, understand the signs, but that you don't have to look like the next person to be a healthy woman, and kind of taking back a little bit of that control too of like, okay, I know myself, and some of that confidence of like I know I want to learn what my body is trying to tell me. And so what can I take from that and make sure that I'm feeding it well, fueling it well, that I feel good, like, physically, not just, like, I feel like I look good. No, I feel good physically, I feel energized, I feel strong. I can go throughout my day and I don't crash at 2 PM. That is more the sign of health than I need to look a certain way or I'm fine, I don't need to think about it at all. So, I think that is the thing that I'd want every girlfriend to know is that you don't have to go to either extreme. There is a third option.
Yeah, I would just tag on to that. I mean, I think that is just so beautiful to me because I've seen that so much of just like, well, you have to do one or the other, and both are obsessive, and we know they don't lead to good places. And I think learning to just listen to our bodies, you can listen to it, and that's not like voodoo magic. It's just like, how do you feel? And it's okay to be like, my stomach hurts, and actually, I don't want that to be my reality, or my skin is crazy, and that's probably telling you something. And it's not that, oh, it doesn't look good and we want to hide, but why is your skin breaking out so much? It's an internal problem that's showing up on the outside. So how do we listen to that? And I really just want women to know that there is hope for wholer, more healthy, resilient bodies in this life. Like I think we can pursue that, and there's goodness in that. I think our bodies were created good initially. That's my belief, and I think that we accept a lot of brokenness, but I think sometimes we're quick to accept that as like, well, that's just how it is. And I think there's beauty in saying it's broken, but it was made beautiful, and we can really do some work to kind of uncover that wholeness that was there. Your body was designed to function well. That was the original design. And I think we do good work when we try to pursue a functioning body. So I want women to know that, like, it's okay to want that. It's okay to pursue that. And I think there's a lot of hope, and maybe more hope than you think right now.
I love it. I love how you said we were created, what did you say? Good. We were created like with this wholeness. We were created to thrive. We've talked before about how our bodies are resilient, which is a good thing, but we're resilient to a point. So our bodies, like you said, will find fuel. We'll find a way to keep going and to survive, but that doesn't mean that we're
Yeah.
living this full whole life that we could be. And it can feel really hopeless. I mean, you have the place to say it. You've been through a lot of health things, so it can feel like, I guess this is my body. I guess this is my only option. But we have more agency, and we were given that. So I appreciate y'all's thoughts. I would love to know, are there any myths like on social media or that you hear floating around? I know a lot of your hope for VK Wellness is to dispel kind of like the food noise or diet culture that we're in. So any myths around like food or movement, nutrition, training that you want to bust?
The ones that come to mind are like fasted workouts are better. It's like they'll make you skinnier. And I would just say, sure, if you're going to look in the mirror, but I would check on what your muscle mass is doing in that process. Like, and do you have a period? Not to be to the point, but, like, what are the other signs showing you other than just, like, when I don't eat and then I run really far, I get skinnier? That makes sense. But is that your goal? So, I would just encourage them, just we gotta leave the fasted workouts in the past, and I think sadly the people that were told to do that for a really long time and, like, maybe a generation or 2 above us are, like, suffering the consequences of that with brittle bones, and we're starting to see that, so, like, let's reverse that.
The other one that just like, I mean, we've already talked about it, but the fear that you're going to get bulky if you strength train, I just want to say that that's not going to happen. You will grow muscle, and that's good. Like, you will have muscle, and that is what we want. We want to like have lean muscle. We want to have a strong body. You're going to have to work really, really hard if you are going to become, if you're going to start looking like a bodybuilder. Like that, they have very specific routines that is like the goal. Just lifting heavy and fueling your body properly, like in the most like sustainable way with whole foods, you're not going to become a bodybuilder just because you lift heavy weights. So I know we already talked about that, but that one is definitely close to home.
I don't know if this is, like, a myth, but people are still doing it no matter how much people say to stop, and I'm just gonna be another voice that says to stop, but we need to leave the, like, "I just drink coffee for breakfast" thing in the past. Like, that's not I know that's, like I feel like that's a skinny girl vibe in a way, like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna, like, oh, I didn't even have time," and, like, "Oh, well, I just, like, I'm not hungry for breakfast." Well, you're not hungry because you taught your body not to be hungry for breakfast, and it's hard to adjust that first. I hear so many women who are like, "I'm nauseous in the morning, I can't do these things," and I would just say, take it slow, eat what you can, start with protein coffee if that helps you, like, what can you keep down? Your body's asking for fuel. Don't drink that coffee on an empty stomach. Keep drinking coffee, we love coffee, here for it. There's ways to do it that fuel your body and don't hurt your body.
The other one that just came up, I thought of this when you were talking, Kayla, about like just the norm of feeling like your stomach can hurt all the time. I've seen so many reels on Instagram that say all hot girls' stomachs hurt.
Ugh,
And that is just something that is just terrible and is just not true.
that's
Um,
devastating.
and it's just like, yeah, this is a belief around it of like, oh yeah, of course. Like if I look good, then yeah, it makes sense that my stomach hurts. And that's just not, should not be the reality, and is not like, you do not have to live your life with your stomach hurting, and you can still feel vibrant, feel healthy, and feel good in your body and
And
feel
look
hot
beautiful.
and look beautiful, look hot, and your stomach doesn't have to hurt. So, anyways, that one is one that makes me so upset
Ugh.
that I'm like, it's just not a good narrative to be setting for women specifically.
That's so crazy. I see that too, and I'm like, "What?" Like, no, that is your body screaming at you that something is wrong, so please don't ignore it if you're bloated and your stomach hurts. That's not normal. I'm very thankful for everything that you guys shared. I think you're coming from places of a lot of wisdom, but also you have, a vision, and I think it's countercultural in a really beautiful way. So I want to just encourage you. I know you've already probably touched a lot of lives and you'll change a lot more. Just focusing on really encouraging women to pursue like full, vibrant, joyful lives and how important our health and our bodies are to that. It's just really cool to hear. So very thankful for that. I agree with every single thing that you guys said. And then the last thing I wanted to say is I tell this to Hudson, who Vangi works with. He's my older brother. All the time. I'm like, we can't sit back and live like most Americans or like our culture does and expect to feel good and be healthy and like disease free.
Yeah.
Because look around, 1 in 2 almost now adults have a chronic disease. And it's not just older people. Like we're starting at like 20 and 30 years old. 1 in 10 women have PCOS. The rate of obesity is over 50%. I'm pretty sure it's kind of crazy, but it's true. So, and I don't say those things to be scary. It's empowering. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so I need to take action. My body is very, very important for me to live out the life that I want to live to its fullest capacity. So let me like take action and do all these things that you guys are saying. So just want to say thank you for sharing. And I'm excited for everything that's coming in your future and everything you're doing. And we really, really appreciate y'all being on here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having us. This was just so fun. It was fun that it's like two sisters and two sisters. How
I
often does
know.
that happen?
I know. I love that. It's beautiful. Y'all
Yeah.
were perfect.
This was amazing. And then I know Eden texted, is it helpful for us to share? She said where to find us on like socials. Is it
Yes,
helpful for us to like
please.
text that?
Well, why don't you say it right now? Where can people find you if they want to get help?
Yes, definitely. So you can find us on Instagram and you can find us on our website and you can find us on LinkedIn as well. But the best one is to check out our Instagram. It's called It's VK Wellness and our name is VK Wellness Co. And you can check out kind of all the things that we talked about. We share a lot of our thoughts and methods through there. And then it also has a link to our website, which shares all of our services and different kind of methods that you can go through and how you can get in touch with us too. But that's going to be our best mode of communication.
Love it. Your Instagram is beautiful. I always look through it. I'm like, y'all are doing a
Thank
good
you.
job. I love the message. So, okay,
Thank
well,
you.
thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
All right, you
Thank you.
too.
You
Bye.
too.
Thank
See
you.
ya.